everyone, my name's Ellen Jones. I'm the film programmer here at Film Club, and we're here today for another live webcast, and we are lucky enough to have with us Kevin Macdonald. Kevin, as many of you know, I'm sure, is the director of lots of brilliant films that we love at Film Club, including Touching the Void, The Eagle and The Last King of Scotland. But today he's here to talk about a very unusual and special film, which is Life in a Day. Hello Kevin, welcome.
Hi, how you doing? Hello everyone out there.
As usual, we've got lots of questions that you sent in via email, which we'll be asking Kevin in a moment, but we've also got questions coming in through Twitter, which Anna will be talking us through later. Hello, Anna.
Hi.
Great, let's get stuck in then. First question is from Tom Cottrell at Endon High School in Stoke-on-Trent. And Tom would like to know, what inspired you to create a film about different people from all over the globe?
Hi Tom, hope you're there. What inspired me? Well, it just seemed like nobody's made a film like this before. And it's a kind of film you could only really make now with modern technology, with cameras that are so cheap and readily available. You know, almost everybody in the Western world has some form of video camera on their phone or at home, and something that their mum and dad use for home movies and that kind of thing. And also there's YouTube. There's a way of uploading all this video so that people can look at it. So I wanted to take advantage of those new tools and make a new kind of movie, because that's what Life in a Day is. It's a new kind of movie.
Were you a big fan of YouTube yourself? Are you one of those people that's always looking at clips on YouTube and sending them to people?
No, a little bit. You need to have quite a lot of time on your hands in order to be able to do that, don't you? Now, I've got little kids of my own, and I'm always working. So, but when I have to say, it's one of those temptations, isn't it? You're on your computer and you sort of got 5 minutes, and you think, oh, what's on YouTube? Let me have a look, and you find yourself lost in this world for hours.
There's a really good question from Newland Girls' School. I'm not sure exactly who it's from, so sorry about that, but it's from someone in Year 8, and Newland is in Windsor and Maidenhead. And the question is, why did you choose Saturday the 24th of July 2010?
Good question. Well, it was kind of random that we chose that particular day. We wanted it to be a Saturday because we thought more people would film, because in a lot of parts of the world Saturday is a holiday. Not everywhere, but a lot of parts of the world. And we didn't want to do it during the World Cup. Because we thought nobody would really have any time, especially on a Saturday, to take part. And we were trying to get the film ready for Sundance Film Festival, which takes place in January, so we didn't want to leave it too long, so it just ended up being around then. And it was one of those lucky things that day happened to be a full moon. And we didn't even know that, and that's one of the things that is kind of like really important to the film, is that it starts with all these full moons, because it's a full moon everywhere in the world on the same night. And so you start with a full moon that's in Chile, I think, and then you have another one that's in Vietnam, another one that's in America, and another one that's in Denmark or somewhere. So that was just a really good bit of good luck.
And we've got a question from Isambard Community School in Swindon. And they say, what gave you the idea of asking people to send in videos of themselves? I suppose you kind of talked about that with YouTube, but maybe you could talk a bit more about the kind of concept of the film.
Yeah, well, there was a thing that happened in the 1930s and 40s, 70, 80 years ago, an idea called mass observation. And that was a kind of fancy name for saying, let's get people to write diaries about their lives. And it was a way of, because particularly back then, ordinary people didn't really get much say in anything, and the people on the BBC were all kind of very stuck-up kind of types, and all from Oxford or Cambridge, whatever, and kind of ordinary people didn't feel that they had a voice. And the idea with this mass observation movement, it was called, was to give ordinary people a voice. And so they asked 500 or 1,000 people around Great Britain to write a diary all on the same day, and then they would do that every month, and they would collect those into books. And so the ordinary things that people wrote in their diaries would be fascinating. What is ordinary to me, the mundane stuff of my life, the boring stuff of my life, actually could be really interesting to you, because you get to understand how I think. And that's where the idea for actually getting people to record their lives came from. And on film, I just stole that idea that they did with diaries, and I did it with film cameras.
Brilliant. And were you ever kind of worried that people wouldn't send in enough footage? Jake Webster from Endon High School wants to know how you managed to get so many people to take part.
Hi, Jake. Yeah, I was really worried. I thought we might not get anybody. It's like being, I suppose, waiting to be picked on the football team. You don't know whether you're going to be picked or not. You're at the mercy of all these other people. But we were told by YouTube, who've done sort of things a bit like this before, not exactly this kind of thing, but they've done things like this before, that the most we would probably get would be 8,000 to 10,000 responses from around the world, because I think that's the most that anyone's ever had for anything like this before. but actually we got 81,000 responses, which was 4,500 hours of material, which would take one person, I think, 2 years to watch if you watched 12 hours a day, 5 days a week. I think my maths isn't that good, but it's something like that. It's only about 2 years. So, that's a massive amount of material. And I had a whole team. I had 25 people working with me and an editor, Joe Walker. And all those 25 people, they watched every single thing. And they also had to speak different languages, of course. With a Chinese speaker, somebody spoke 5 Indian dialects, somebody spoke, Korean, somebody spoke Swedish, all that. So they went through it and translated bits that they thought were interesting, and then gave them to me. And I watched about 300 or 350 hours.
And what do you think it was about the project that inspired so many people to?
Well, I think it's just the good thing about the internet. We always hear the bad things about the internet for some reason. We're always hearing about piracy and invasion of privacy and child pornography and all these things. But actually the good side about the internet is that people tend to share. And there's a community feeling on the internet, particularly on YouTube actually, but all over the internet. Things like Wikipedia, that's created by volunteers, giving their opinions on things, they're giving their knowledge for free of things. And so I think that's just what it is. And people were curious about the idea, thought it was a good idea, which it is, it's a really interesting idea. And they thought, oh, that sounds like fun. I'd like to spend my Saturday doing that and doing my little contribution. And so we ended up with, I think, 391 different people have got clips in the film. So there are 391 people who are represented in the film out of the 81,000 who sent things in.
So quite a special thing for those people.
Yeah, really special. I mean, people were thrilled. I've met quite a few of the people who contributed, and the ones who got stuff in just feel like, wow, that's great. I've made my mark on the world.
Yeah. Rose Bailey, hello Rose, from Mount Grace High School, wants to know how many countries did the videos come from?
Well, I think I already said that, but there was 192 different countries.
Okay.
Did I say that? I can't remember. 192 different countries. I got very excited because I asked one of the assistants to tot up, how many countries there are, and they came in and said, "There's 192," and he said, "Guess what?" And I said, "What? And he said, "There only are 192 countries in the world." And then, of course, I looked up on Wikipedia, and actually there's 196. But it varies a bit. Different people have different opinions about what countries are.
What the elusive?
No, the elusive 4. No, you know what? I keep thinking I must find out. I'm guessing North Korea.
Yeah.
I guess it's been like the Solomon Islands, because I don't know how much video connection there is there. But the other thing I should say is that we didn't only rely on YouTube, because then you wouldn't be able to reach the whole world. It was important that it felt really global, because a lot of parts of the world obviously don't have access to the internet at all, and people really don't have cameras. It's only in the West where cameras are everywhere. So what we had to do was send out cameras. So we went, Alicia, my assistant, actually went with 40 grand to Jessop's camera shop and said, "How many cameras that record HD can I get for that 40 grand?
They're lucky day.
They're a lucky day.
Yeah.
And we got about 400 cameras, little stills cameras that also recorded some HD video. And we sent those out to sort of really far-flung parts of the world. And, they went to Papua New Guinea, they went to Iraq, Afghanistan, they went to all over Africa, South America. So some of the more, exotic places represented in the film, like Peru and Afghanistan and parts of Africa. That footage, and in India, that footage, a lot of it comes from those cameras that we sent out. We sent them to people and said, "Okay, you get to keep the camera and you get to keep one of the memory cards, but send the other memory card back to us."
Did anyone just keep everything?
Yeah, about 40% of the people. We only got about 60% back.
That's an interesting test, to be honest. Rosie's got another great question, which is, how many of the film cast were men in contrast to women?
That's a really interesting question, because it's definitely true that more men filmed. And I think that's got something to do with men and technology. that boys like a gadget, so they've got a camera. And so there was definitely more men filming. I don't know what the percentage is. I think it would be about probably 35, 65, something like that. But I think that actually the things that were filmed, a lot of the men obviously filmed women. But actually the people who were contributing were more men.
Did you think about the kind of representation and?
Yes, we did. I mean, I tried to think about having a balance between the sexes. That seemed to be important. More importantly, though, for me was I wanted to make it more balanced around the world, and that was actually harder because, of course, a lot of the good stuff came from America, particularly. Almost 50% of the material we got came from America, and that's because Americans have more access to the internet than anybody else. They're more cameras. They're better at showing off, the Americans, let's face it. I don't know why that is, but it's a national talent, exactly. And they just know how to be in front of the camera. And so although I said I don't want to have so much American stuff, in the end, there was some of the best stuff was from America or Canada. And so they are disproportionately highly represented. Britain, I think, only has 2 proper clips in it, as far as I remember. France has none, weirdly. There were a few came in. The French all took themselves very seriously. No, there wasn't anything. Obviously, I didn't want people to show off. I wanted people to be honest on the camera and do something interesting. But funnily enough, I didn't get anything that really sort of struck me as interesting from France. Weirdly, the second most stuff we got came from Ukraine. Why the Ukraine? I don't know, but that was kind of interesting.
That's a whole other film, finding that.
Yeah.
A great question from Beechwood School in Slough. They want to know, did you get lots of clips sent in by actors who were trying to audition or just really showing off?
Well, not really. No, I thought we were going to get all sorts of really disgusting things. People doing horrible pranks and sort of, terrible stuff. But actually, we didn't. We didn't really get that much. I mean, we had a few people trying to pull the wool over our eyes about when they filmed stuff. So there was like a couple of really great films that people sent in. And I thought, wow, this is fantastic. This is the great part of the movie. And then I sort of began to get the sneaking feeling, this is almost too good. It's almost too good. And then you do a bit of research and you realise that actually it was filmed a year ago. And it was their film school graduation film or something like that. So that happened a few times. But I think we caught most of those. There was a really horrible bomb explosion from Pakistan, where there was like a head rolling around the street and all sorts of horrible, disgusting stuff. And I was going to put a bit of that in, actually, into the sort of nightmare section of the film. But then we did a bit of research. We thought, did that bomb really happen on that day? And we did a bit of research about it. No, it was actually a few months before. Somebody, again, trying to pull the wool over our eyes.